Today I am very excited to say we will be sitting down and talking with Hunter Daly, a director of photography, or DP, who resides in the UK. He's worked on advertisements for companies like BMW, Adidas, and Ralph Lauren, as well as music videos for artists like A$AP Ferg and Sam Smith. This is the first part in a two-part series around the Tullamore Dew whiskey commercial, with the director being Valentin Petit and the director of photography being Hunter Daly. Thank you for getting on and talking with me today. Could you tell me about your job and duties as a DP or director of photography on set?
Yeah, so my role, I guess, is I'm always waiting for a script on any project, whether that's an ad or a music video or a film, whatever. I'll receive that script, and then my job there is to break that down technically, both creatively and technically, and understand what the director might want. Sometimes they're very clear in it, sometimes they're not. You sort of suss that out. You figure that out when you're reading how much you're going to have to bring to the table and how much you're just going to have to achieve what's written. And that depends on the style of the director, whether they're prescribing, this is what I need, this is what I need you to achieve, or whether it's much more open and you're going to be in more of a collaborative process. My job is to interpret specifically how we're going to move the camera, the style of the camera, whether it's fast, whether it's slow, whether we're close to the actors, whether we're far away on longer lenses, the energy that you're going to communicate through the way the camera's moving, the angles, whether it's low, whether it's high, because all of these change the way the audience perceives the film.
Today we will analyze the Tullamore Dew whiskey advertisement, with the director of photography being Hunter Daly and the director being Valentin Petit. So I'm going to show the video now, and then we're going to be asking you some questions afterwards.
The lines between us, imaginary lines that lie between us, it's just lies. You see us? We were made from the same stuff, beyond races and classes. One day we'll all dance and raise glasses. I'll drink to that. See, we are one. There's no them, only us. And that's all we ever needed. Only love. Oh, and clean cups. This doesn't have to be a zero-sum game where some lose and some gain. I want to feel it all. Winter sun, summer rain. See, these differences don't exist, and they never did. Time, space, distance, it's all relative. Think about it. We're all relatives. No time to build walls. We got bridges to mend. And that might mean forgive and forget, because it's just me and you in the end. And that's the beauty of us. The beauty of blend.
As you'll see, I'll be overlaying some behind the scenes provided by Hunter throughout this segment for more context, as well as to give you more of an insider look. Could you give me a rough outline of the prep process, the shooting days, number of crew a project of this scale takes to come to life?
So I reckon I heard of the project about 4 weeks before we shot. And at that point, I'm very much trusted with the director to deliver this project that's been being prepped for almost a year and being sold and stuff like that. So it's a sort of, there's a big responsibility in that way to deliver it properly. So I've come in 3 weeks before, and I'm starting a remote process. So talking through, just as I said at the start of the call, like I'm working on how we're going to light things, the mood, we're exchanging lighting references, we're exchanging how we might move the camera, all this kind of stuff. And then I'm also receiving a storyboard. Perhaps on this particular project, we had Val storyboarded himself, sometimes as a storyboard artist. And so I had it was a pretty prescriptive script in the sense that it was very much, this is what we need, these are the transitions, this is how we need you to shoot it. And I had little pockets of things where I knew I was going to be able to make up shots and improvise on the set and improvise in the prep process, but there were some very fixed transitions in this, which we're going to talk about later, I think. So then we get to the shooting days, and those are 2 shooting days, 2 full shooting days, and crew-wise, I'm just trying to remember, we had one Steadicam operator for both days who came from France. His name is Théva Vasseur. We had 2 to 3 camera assistants. We have at least a focus puller who's moving the focus. The person helping them on a digital shoot is a loader. They're not loading film per se. They might even have some help. We then have a video person who's doing all the monitors on set, and a DIT who's downloading the footage and transcoding it into the files that the post-production need. I might have then had a gaffer, so a chief lighting technician, and 4 lighting technicians with us in the shooting crew. But we were also pre-lighting sets while we're shooting. So let's say you've lit set 1, and while set 1 is sort of being finished, or while set 1 is being done and shot, you've already got team 2 working on that second location. So when you arrive, it's sort of done, or it's fully done. And so we did that on both days. We had 2 crews working. And then I had a few grips to move the dolly and stuff like that.
How extensive is your overall shot planning for something like this?
On this particular project, the shot planning was pretty precise because the transitions had to be done as much in camera as possible. That's always going to produce a better image with less stuff happening that can appear strange to an audience. And Val, the director, is someone who is very precise ahead of shooting. Some people like to make it up closer to the shoot, but Val is very much heavy in the prep process. So I sort of, as their right-hand person on a project, I have to match that mood, and that's important as DP, to be able to match the mood of and the style of the director, and that's why it's important to know who you're working with. Yeah, so all in all, the shot planning was very precise on this film because of the director's style, because of the nature of doing quite tricky transitions with really precise masks that have to match shots. And so it's really important on this kind of stuff with VFX to do as much preparation as you can before you shoot. Testing is a really important part of that too. And so that's a camera thing. And so while we're also discussing how we're going to film the actual camera movement and things, we're also doing a lot of discussion about lighting references. So normally this would take the form of me and Val, me and whoever the director is, sending lots of references of things we think are relevant to the scenes, and that's usually via WhatsApp or something. On some particular projects, I'm motivated to present a lighting document or references, and sometimes this is requested by the agency, which it was on this. And then constantly, you're constantly testing the waters. So, for example, let's start in the bar.
See us? We were made from the same stuff, beyond races and classes. One day we'll all dance and raise glasses. I'll drink to that. See, we are one. There's no them, only us.
Here in these things, I'm asking questions. What is the mood of the bar? Warm practicals, because I'm seeing this film here, which is an Alt-J video, and it's mostly practically lit, either by practicals in the shot here, or practicals above the frame, which are here hitting this. And here I'm saying to Valentin, please circle the ones you like. My job as a DP is to present options in many ways. I can't just say, I think this is the one way we can do it. And here, for that reason, I'm saying perhaps it's colder or it's warmer, and I'm not sure what's wanted. Here again, looking at practicals, you can see all my questions I'm asking here. This is some stuff from La La Land, which is something I always like referencing. This is from True Detective Series 2. So, and then here I'm linking the scenes that they can go and watch with clickable things. So it's all really clear for people to go see things, how they're actually moving in motion. because stills never tell the real story of how a film's going to look in motion. Shot planning is pretty extensive for the bodega.
Only love. Oh, and clean cups. This doesn't have to be a zero-sum game where some lose and some gain. I want to feel it all.
Shot planning is pretty extensive for the bodega because we're doing, for example, this transition here, moving into that. It's not so complicated camera-wise. We ended up shooting a mixture of Steadicam and handheld, so we're also talking about that, with what support system, whether that's handheld, a body, or on a dolly, or is it Steadicam, is it a crane? And for this, we thought that a mixture of handheld to be intimate and a sort of wider lens, so you can feel close, what you call wide and close. So you feel that the lens is close to the person, and you can feel the sense of their face getting bigger and smaller much faster than if you're on a longer lens when you're further away. Where if you move, it's nothing really changing. Also, I find with the wider lenses that they're a bit more stabilized for handheld. So here for the bar scenes, the bodega rather, we look at a wide. It's probably the best way to understand how we were planning this. So for example, this is a film that's being made in a foreign country in which I don't live. So the remote working aspect is working off of photographs and people that are on the ground taking those photographs. A director might go ahead of the DP to the country to scout of the locations. You see the difference between something like this and this. This is taken in Blue Hour. So for something like this, we're planning extensively about the art department of this scene. You can see they've changed the awning above. They've changed stuff. They've changed it from Russian to American. It was meant to be set in New York. That was the vibe. So we're talking about all these things. You see we've installed these practicals here, which are Astera tubes in each window. And we decided that we wouldn't have them in every window, so it sort of had this impression of being a bit more run down, like a bit more imperfect, rather than having a tube in every single window. And we're also talking about the mood. I'm sending photos like this. This smoky shot from 7, I think, is here, right? And so we're making sure we only have haze, but we have something that's more like a smoke machine. So it's like a sewer in New York. We also talked about having a wet down, which is the water you see here. They've got to bring a fire truck to make water on the ground here. And the reason you're using the wet down is to give this impression of like just more texture to the shot. If you, for example, look at this recce photo, it's interesting, but it's not as interesting as having the water on the ground. On this kind of project, on any project, you're working first with your references, which we've discussed. So we're talking about New York smoke. We're talking about wet down, so the lights are reflected and it gives more depth to your scene. We're talking about practical awnings and things like practicals in the shop, fluorescence. And then these are references from BMW, shot by Khalid Motaseb. This is from the same Alt-J film, that blue backlight. And this is from Blade Runner 2049. This is from La La Land. I love the 18K that's sort of hung above the trees there, and then the one that's coming from here that's sort of separating the scene so well. I think it's really important to have deep depth in your night scenes, and this is why I suggested these kind of things. This is from First Man, also shot by Lena Sangren, and you see these rays are just so amazing. It's one of the best night scenes I've ever seen, like ever, I think. Just most beautiful night lighting. Again, Blade Runner they've got lots of practical elements. This is a heavy VFX shot for sure, but yeah, so these are the kind of things I'm suggesting to the director based on all these references we've been looking at here. So I provide this kind of document to everyone. I'm talking to the gaffer about what kind of lights we might put on it. So yeah, also one part of the recce process is that I'll do on every shoot is an extensive testing of every shot and angle, so we can understand and communicate via the shots what we might see and what we might need to hide things and where the directions were coming. So you can see how we've lit this to have that backlight on the hair here, whereas this wouldn't have occurred via this. Then this key light that's on the face here, that's sort of a bit of a rubbish in-between light here, and it's quite all these sharp shadows here, and there's multiples of them. We replaced by frosting the window, which had posters in them, and we're putting a 2K straight into it. So you have this big glow in the eye here that comes from having a light source close and diffused. We then used the neon practical in the window to provide the green-blue that's coming from the key side as well. So yeah, there's an extensive prep process, and good luck cutting all of that. So the final scene that we did a lot of prep on is the party scene.
Winter sun, summer rain. See, these differences don't exist, and they never did. Time, space, distance, it's all relative. Think about it.
So I'm getting a shot like this. The party scene, we want it to be very cool and interesting. So I'm getting a lot of lighting references from the Euphoria shots I sent you before. Here are some things I did in Ralph Lauren. This is a film with Cara Delevingne for Guerlain, I think, or something like that, or Saint Laurent. Talking about whether we would have curtains that have light, the color of the light that's coming through. Here's a film, Grey Goose by Salomon Lighthelm. You can see it here in the references, shot by Stuart Winekoff. Here's Euphoria. So these are the kind of references we're exchanging about how this party scene might look. So some of these references are from films like the Halsey video made by Anton Tami. This is a To Shang music video. Some night references, some references using the glow, that. Steam for the outside bodega. This is a shot from New York, of course. This is a film, a music video I worked on for years and years, where we used a practical lighting in shot, because I was thinking for the bodega, for the party scene in the film, that we might use a practical installation, a bit like the installations you might see in an artistic installation in a Tate or something like this. This is the much referenced Oliver Eliasson sun shot. So part of the shot planning process would be imagining things like this. So this is a sketch I drew based on the installation. And I thought it was interesting, for example, to have a practical installation rather than lighting you can't see that's coming from a mysterious place above the frame. So then when we got to Ukraine, which is where we shot, I decided to try and test it with a 5K spring bulb, a 5K chimera here, which is a round globe. But we found that the chimera wasn't in the best condition, so it wasn't really going to be suitable to have in the middle of the shot. So we're testing things like that. We went to the recce, the room, which is this. These windows were very, very tall. I think the ceiling was a little bit higher. So we decided to go with references like this. And then the rooftop, we didn't plan very much for, again, in terms of lighting, but we certainly did a lot of testing.